It's time for Supply Chain Now Radio, broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Supply Chain Now Radio spotlights the best in all things supply chain. The people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
All right, good morning. Scott Luton here with you live on Supply Chain Now Radio. Welcome back to the show. In today's show, we continue our Today in Manufacturing series. In fact, we're really proud to be partnering with the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance on this popular series. We got a lot of feedback on a lot of the folks that we've had on, as well as their perspectives shared and their insights, because it's all about offering ideas, and best practices, leadership stories across the manufacturing industry. Today, we continue that tradition. We've got an outstanding story with a world-class manufacturer based right here in our backyard. And in fact, Southwire is one of the world's leading manufacturers of wire and cable, tools, components, and assembled solutions. Looking forward to sharing their story with our audience, as well as a variety of recruiting ideas and best practices. A lot of good stuff to come. Quick programming note, like all of our series on Supply Chain Now Radio, you can find our replays on a variety of channels: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, wherever else you find your podcasts. As always, we'd love to have you subscribe so you don't miss anything. Supply Chain Now Radio is also brought to you by a variety of sponsors, including the Effective Syndicate, Talent Stream, Vector Global Logistics, and Verison, and several leading organizations. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about our valuable sponsors. Okay, so let's welcome in my partner in crime today, Mr. Jason Moss, CEO of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance. Jason, how you doing?
Man, Scott, I'm doing great.
What a week!
It's been a wild one. We had a lot of good stuff going.
Well, we're all excited. Towards the end of today's session, we're going to talk all about the summit that's coming up. Mm-hmm. We've gotten a lot of interest around that between the keynotes and the sessions and the networking that's available. Big event coming up on October 9th. So we're going to get your update, the State of the Union on the Georgia Manufacturing Summit coming up. Okay. Well, we've got. I'm really excited about the story we have here today. Mm-hmm. Keisha Jones, Director of Recruiting at Southwire. Good morning, Keisha.
Good morning, Scott. How are you?
We're doing fantastic, and we're doing better because you're here. You've got in our prep conversation that a lot of times we'll always get a chance to connect on phone, but we had a chance to have a great. I got a sneak peek a lot of what you're going to share today.
Yes,
and I'm excited because I know our audience is going to enjoy it as much as I did.
I hope so. Yeah,
I know so. I am confident. So we're glad to we kicked off this series by extension, kind of Supply Chain Now Radio, to spotlight stories and insights and best practices that you're going to share. So it's been a great week of broadcasting for us, and we're going to finish on a high note. So with all that said, Keisha, as we always like to start, we want to kind of paint a picture for our audience of who they're about to hear from. So tell us more about yourself.
Okay, well, I am, my name's Keisha Jones, and I'm currently the Director of Talent Acquisition at Southwire. I would prefer myself as a Georgia peach, but I'm a military brat, so I spent my childhood overseas. I grew up in Stuttgart, Germany, and eventually made my way here to Atlanta, where I call home. I've been here for quite some time and really enjoy it. I have 2 boys and a husband, and love talent, love to talk talent, kind of obsessed about it.
Yes, very passionate.
Absolutely.
I mean, the thing, when I hung up from our prep call, I was like, wow, we're after passion, and we're going to have it in spades today. And that's probably so critical, and we're going to dive into this in a minute, but how tough it is to find and onboard and develop and retain talent these days. If you don't have passion, you've got at least one arm tied behind your back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You've got to love this, and I don't know. For me, how can you not? You're helping people at the end of the day. It's there's a lot of art and science behind talent acquisition, but at the end of the day, you're giving people the opportunity to introduce themselves to the companies, giving them opportunities.
Love that.
That's pretty cool to do. Yeah.
Very rewarding.
Yeah.
All right. So whenever you are not leading this war for talent with Southwire, what do you do in your spare time?
Gosh, play with my boys. I'm Netflix junkie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, it's really bad.
What's your go-to show right now?
Gosh, right now, I just finished watching, I want to say Unbelievable.
Yes.
And that was...
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. It was a true story as well.
Okay.
So that kind of caught my attention for one weekend. Yeah.
So we've been watching Succession, and I think that's on the Amazon Prime side.
Okay.
And so if you're looking for something else to check out, thought-provoking, and kind of, it shows a different, a highfalutin lifestyle.
Really?
It's nice to daydream, right? But you ought to check that out if you got some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amongst everything else you're juggling this weekend. Okay, so let's talk more about, we talked about what you do, Director of Talent Acquisition at Southwire.
Mm-hmm.
So what does Southwire do?
So Southwire, we are a wire and cable manufacturer. We're the leading wire and cable manufacturer, but we also do other things. We have a couple different lines of business. Tools, we sell tools and assemble products to electrical contractors in the construction space, but we also sell a copper wire refinery products to other companies. So the core of our business, wire and cable manufacturing, but other great innovations along the way, along the lines of tools, assembled products, and other equipment that services the electrical industry.
And it seems like Southwire has been growing leaps and bounds.
Yes,
in
it
the
has.
last, forever. I think it started, I heard someone speak from Southwire long ago, I'm probably going to butcher the story, but I want to say it started in the garage of the founder, specifically on the cable, and from there, it now employs thousands of people here in Georgia and around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're headed into 70 years next year of our doors being open, and like you said, it all started with our owner Roy Richards just wanting to bring cable or bring power to his grandmother's home, and just supply and demand, not having enough cable. It speaks to his innovation because he said, okay, well, there's something there that I can build on, and it started, just with that small little thing that has impacted an entire community over 70 years. So
wow.
it's a pretty awesome story.
How cool is that, Jason?
That is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Now, before, it seems like when we were kind of in a warm-up conversation, prior to your role at Southwire, it seems like a lot of your industry experience really has, what a great get for the Southwire team, because you've got a history of finding some
power
really
distribution. Yeah. So prior to Southwire, I worked for a power distribution company. What they really did, they erected cell phone towers throughout the U.S., and I worked for them for 6 years in the talent space, in recruiting. I left as a manager, a senior manager for them, but all I've ever really done is find talent, and that was a pretty good experience. I loved being a part of that, just keeping people connected. I was on one end of the business and then landed in the kind of the beginning stages of manufacturing side. That was a nice transition,
and one that has been good for all parties. And I'm looking forward to diving more into your take on how you can be successful and effective in sourcing talent these days and onboarding that talent. Okay, so in your current role, talent acquisition, how do you and Southwire define that? Because that's become one of these, I hate to call it cliche, but you hear talent acquisition, so it's such a prevalent term, and different organizations define it different ways. For you, what buckets are on your plate related to this role?
So it's really focusing on the entire candidate experience, not necessarily the recruiting piece. That's a part of it. It starts with defining the story, the branding piece, understanding who we are, what we want to target, how we want to target, and the message that we want to deliver. And then making the connections. What's the best way to connect with people, how to get them interested in Southwire, and how to get them in the door to really understand what we do and sell them on the opportunity. But after that, there's that onboarding piece, making sure that experience continues after we hire them, and make sure that they're understanding the company, the part that they play, and keeping them excited about working there. So that's talent acquisition. That's the entire piece, not just the recruiting.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, it's pretty expensive to be able to identify talent, get them committed to come on board, and then the onboarding piece.
Yeah.
But if you stop there, man, I mean, you're not getting it done.
Right.
You know, I mean,
right.
you're not being able to bring people on long term. And one of the things that I keep hearing around the state is finding talent is tough. And there's several different buckets there. One is identifying the people that are available, but also
right.
growing up. You know,
right.
new talent that's interested in coming to the manufacturing space. And I keep saying that, you know, we got to make manufacturing sexy. That's part of the reason we do as many events as we do. Is because we want to expose people to what manufacturing really is.
Right. Yeah.
So,
No, manufacturing, it isn't, it's tough because when we're out at the universities, career fairs, we're out in the market, we don't have a very, from a brand perspective, we have a great brand, but it's not a strong consumer brand. Like you don't go to a shopping mall or a grocery store.
Southwire on Amazon.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes,
really?
absolutely.
It's available on buyfromgeorgia.com.
Yes, absolutely.
Learn something new every day. I was about to say while we're watching Unbelievable on Netflix, but clearly you can order it on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt. So you're talking about from a consumer brand standpoint, though.
From a consumer brand standpoint, not everyone knows that Southwire name, even though we are behind the walls of almost 1 in 3 homes in the U.S. We are everywhere. You just don't see that logo.
Right.
So there's some, people are like, okay, what do you do? Yeah. So you have to be able to tell that story in the few minutes that you have their attention, to let them know that there is something there. We may not be Amazon or Google, but we do still do incredible things at the company.
Right.
I struggled with that too because I was at my previous company for 6 years and I was like, okay, I don't know about this. I'll check it out. I don't know. And I actually sat in the parking lot of Southwire for 10 minutes and I got on my phone and I called my husband and I said, I don't know. I don't know manufacturing. I don't know about this.
Yeah,
and he said, just check it out. He was in the manufacturing space at the time. He says, not bad. Just go see. But the minute I walked in the door, from the time I met the person at the guardhouse, I knew it was home.
Right.
It's the people that make the difference.
Right. Wow.
And that for me, for GMA and the connection to GMA, Trevor Fight, one of my longtime buddies, he's no longer with us, but he made the introduction when we were first setting up the summit. Over the years, I was looking for speakers, and I was like, I want as high name, high title, and as big a brand name as we have in manufacturing in Georgia. And he came and brought, and just roll with me here, but he said, I got your speaker, and he was like, I'm like, who is that? And he said, Kathleen Edge.
Amen.
I'm like, well, I ain't never heard that name.
Yeah.
And he said, and Southwire. And I'd seen Southwire a few times, but I wasn't engaged with Southwire. And he was like, no. He said, you're good. He said, she is over HR.
HR, yeah.
For Southwire
she
at
was,
the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you're bringing me an HR person from a company that I'm not real familiar with the brand. He's like, trust me, it'll be fine. She got on stage.
Home run.
Hit it home.
Day,
yeah.
One of the most impactful. I mean, my wife still talks about Kathleen.
Yeah.
She's like, if I go to work anywhere, I'm going to Southwire because I just love those people.
Well, you're
and her impact in the community through sharing the Southwire message.
Right.
She freaking nailed it, man.
Yeah.
We loved that engagement and that. Again, to this day, I mean, when I look back over all the speakers that we've had and all the presentations, the one I get the most feedback from is Kathleen's.
Yeah.
And that started a really neat relationship with GMA and Southwire. But again, it was based around passionate people that understood the industry and are doing things about it to make it better. Not just talking about it, but taking action and doing things about it.
Yeah. Here's something she shared as part of our keynote that we've referenced probably no short of 1,000 times. You can't, and this is Kathleen Edge. Some folks get
Kathleen,
confused.
we love you if you're listening.
She mentioned that you can't begin to tackle the talent gap until you tackle the gender gap.
Absolutely.
And that is absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
And I don't know about y'all, but in my journey, as I've tried to wrap my head more and have gotten better educated on the gender gap and some other challenges we have in getting and maximizing diversity within all industries, that was a powerful early keynote for me that kind of smacked me upside the head and said, "Hey, do some homework, right?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we still get a lot of feedback on that. Was what 3 years ago?
It was 3 years ago. That was I believe that was like my second or third day at work, and I'm telling you, I'm glad I was invited to it because
you were there too.
I was there, and I was like, amazing. Oh yes.
Like, so this manufacturer thing might work out after all.
Yeah, it's going to work out after all because if she can be bold enough to say that and push people to be disruptive, I'm in the right place.
Wow.
Yeah,
love that.
That is awesome.
True ambassador, one that gets a lot of kindred spirits here at the table here. Okay, so let's dive more into talent because I'm really eager to share a lot of what I garnered from our conversation with our audience because I think they're going to find it really helpful based on some of the things that you've done, some things you are doing, and we know how talent's keeping everybody up at night, even the folks, the employers of choice, and the talent magnets that exist, much like Southwire. Still, you got to stay on your game and get better by the hour, it seems, in this era.
Yeah.
All right, so first off, though, we want to kind of set the table a little bit. So tell us more about the current state of economy and kind of what we're up against.
So, that's an interesting question because, you always hear, we're in a talent war, And, at one point, I bought into that. But one day I woke up and I was like, are we really in a talent war, or are we using that as a crutch? Are we not pushing ourselves to do things differently? Because you can't say that you're in a talent war, but on the other side of it, you say, I only want people within a 20-mile radius of this location, and they have to go to this school and this school and this school. Are you really in a talent war, or is it self-induced?
Wow.
You gotta ask yourself that. We've got to start to
question your assumptions, right?
Question your assumptions, and also be okay and be open to doing things differently. There are talent pools out there. We're in 4% unemployment, but are we really in 4% unemployment? Because what the U.S. government does is they bucket part-time and gig economy people in that same percentage. So there's people out there that are working part-time and on gig status, contract status, that would be open to full-time if given the opportunity. So we have to factor in those folks. There's people who are recent graduates that may not get opportunities that we should look at. There's veterans that may not get opportunities that we should look at. There's disabled folks who need opportunities that we don't often look at. We've got to stretch ourselves to be open and to develop people. We need to invest in take responsibility. I think corporations have to take responsibility of making it a priority to develop people so that we can open up those pools. So, we can say we're in a talent war, but are we really?
Right. So, let me touch on the veteran piece for a second.
Sure.
That's something that we're very passionate about here. This week, we had 2 veterans, combat veterans. One was a Marine, one was in the Army, that were deployed, and both were in Afghanistan, I believe, developed PTSD, significant PTSD. In fact, one of them, and this is out in the open, this will be published in the next few days, one of them was being prescribed antidepressants while in combat zones, which that was the first time I'd really...
wow.
Maybe I was just oblivious and naive. But so anyway, both of these gentlemen came back. They struggled with the demons. But they got back on their feet. And these are now strong community leaders that are helping other military members with work through their PTSD, and to be fair, PTSD, it goes far beyond the military. There's plenty of folks that suffer from PTSD for other reasons. But when I just kind of heard you talk about how we've got to really change our challenge our assumptions and really get creative and not look for someone from this school and this check here and check here. We've got to sit down and evaluate and really get to know people,
right? And
not be scared to lean in and understand where they're coming from, right?
Look beyond the resume. Understand. It's there, especially the military. So the military, when they first come out, they have a whole different language, a whole different dynamic, a whole different community, and their resumes don't often translate very well.
Correct.
Over the years, I've seen it get a little bit better, but we also we often have that disconnect because we as civilians don't necessarily understand what they've done
so
in the military.
I need your professional opinion.
Sure.
Okay, so if you got my resume, when I got out of the Air Force,
yes,
I loaded bombs on F-16s. Do you see a direct career path for me to get into the manufacturing?
On the surface?
I was a bomb loader for F-16s. There was not a big demand.
We hire for that in Walton County all the time.
I was waiting on Southwestern to get really pissed off at Delta, and I'd have a job, but it's a whole other thing.
but it illustrates your point.
That's the kind of thing that doesn't really translate.
Right.
Yeah.
Not on the surface, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, what other? So we've kind of dove deeper on the veteran side. What other of those assumptions you listed? You mentioned the disabled. You mentioned some other pockets, demographics.
Sure.
Where else do you think we're really missing the boat, not making the connection, and making too many assumptions as it relates to different walks of life?
Yeah, I mean, diversity from all perspectives is huge. We have, the world's changing, and we have to look at it beyond. We have to operate as one world, and we're seeing that in the economy now, that we are more interconnected than anyone has ever imagined.
Yeah.
But you can't. The
1982 pigeonhole box system does not work.
It does not relevant. No, it doesn't. And we have to learn how to operate in an environment where we're operating as one world, not necessarily in our silos.
That global community.
Community, absolutely.
And as we were talking, as kind of in the warm up was everybody's got a story.
Yes.
And I think that's critical that we take the time to hear the story. I mean, you shared some really cool stuff that I was just, man, that, and that's, I believe, as an industry in the manufacturing, sometimes companies hire for a position. I need somebody that'll show up and it'll lift this box and put it on that thing.
Yeah.
And I need, or a button pusher. These are the things that I need. But I love the perspective that you're bringing to the table, and we talked about earlier, is about getting engaged with people and having them tell the story and figuring out what turns their crank, right?
Right, absolutely.
And where they came from, because they can add value. Our buddies over at Sonnen, I was talking to those guys, Josh, and Josh was talking. That was one of the things on their onboarding process is everybody in the leadership team sits down and hears the backstory.
Yeah.
Right, so that they know. And he said more often than not, when they hire somebody, they end up repositioning them in the company based on their skill sets that weren't listed on their resume.
Yeah,
right? And I know that you guys are talking about that too. I mean, I love watching your eyes light up when you're talking about sitting down and talking to some of your folks.
Yes.
Yeah.
To hear those, it's the story behind the people.
To your point,
that's the magic.
I'm hoping our video captured you as when you moved into the ambassador mode.
Oh wow!
You were beaming.
Yeah.
And that tells such that story in a way that words don't capture. So
right, yeah.
But moving right along, you kind of described how we've got to compete and find talent a little better. Let's talk about how companies are setting themselves apart in light of this 4% number. Even though you kind of described some of the factors that aren't surface level when we talk about percentages, but how are companies setting themselves apart?
Yeah. So when I look at what makes people attracted to a company, those companies who are able to communicate that they're bigger than just what they make or what they sell, and people who are looking for jobs see that. People want to know that they can make a difference, not just, it's more than just a job. Especially today when there's kind of a blurred line between home and work. Right. You want to know that if you're out there and you're away from your family, you're doing great things. So I think just being able to see that in the employer that you choose makes a difference. And then also, am I being developed? Is this company going to invest in me when I come? Am I being challenged? People need that. And money's important at the end of the day, but we're finding that that's not the end all.
Well, kind of tapping on that a little bit. I was talking, I had sat down with Jason and Ashley, and especially Jason, and kind of picked his brain about what was going on in Southwire at the time. About a year ago, we sat down down and kind of hash through things. And,
sure.
And I didn't know with the economy, we all, we got numbers we got to hit, and there's all sorts of stuff that's going on. But I was like, how does the economy impact Southwire for real? And he was like, well, the building industry, if we're planning on this big surge, and if that big surge doesn't happen, then we got to make some changes. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and we were talking about, be careful what you pray for, right? And sometimes the things that you pray for, or sometimes the things that happen in your life,
right,
seem really tough, and you got to work through some tragedy, but the tragedy that you're working through sometimes is a blessing to somebody else.
Absolutely.
And that rang true. It was really neat that we had that discussion earlier this week, and it brought me back to a conversation that I had with Jason. And
Jason is our VP of Talent Acquisition Communications. He's my boss.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And but as we were kind of talking through that, I was like, so what does it look like? And he's like, well, I found out that there are three industries that GMA is actively involved with: the automotive, the bedding industry, and wire and cable. Right. Those are three that we just off the top that are great industries that are sometimes impacted by the building environment, construction
sure,
growth, and that sort of thing. But they're also heavily engaged with hurricanes. Absolutely. And if you have a super active hurricane season, although it can be devastating to a community, you got to put new wire up. I mean, bottom line, you can't like reuse the stuff after the hurricanes knock it down. And so that was really interesting to see, those two conversations sort of pairing off of each other. That sometimes the tough stuff or the tragedies that some people are going through can be a blessing to other people. So it, we just got to kind of roll with it and see. Again, we're not hoping for an active hurricane season
at all. Yeah.
But the reality is sometimes that's going to impact employee growth, and you got to be able to flex with that. How do you guys manage, the surges in
ebbs and
demand?
Flows?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a good question. You have to you have to build your business around an agile workforce. Looking at part-time employees, do we train people to come in as we need them? Those are things that you start to think about. Southwire does a good job of forecasting what we need when we need, but there are occasions where there's things that happen on the market that will drive production up. And we utilize contingent labor.
Pull every lever at your disposal in this. And I'm going to change my terminology. I'm not calling it a war for talent anymore. I love how you were talking about how that's self-induced.
Yeah.
It's easy to buy into a mantra if you're not doing some root cause analysis.
Use that as a crutch.
And y'all pardon me, I was swatting a 3-foot long wide mosquito a second ago. But so I want to circle back.
Sure.
There's so much we can talk about in the talent acquisition space and it's just the talent space in general. But setting themselves apart, what's the most important thing when it comes to differentiation, given this environment, would you point to?
I think at the end of the day, the people, the goals and the mission, the people, honestly, at the end of the day, really make the difference. At the end of the day, we manufacture wire and cable, we sell tools, but what makes us unique is the people who are actually doing those things. I think that's what sets us apart. Even my own personal story with Southwire, that's what really brought it home for me were the people. Are these people going to be the people that I can rally behind? And that was my decision. That's how I made my decision.
And what I'm also hearing you say is that story. When you lay down, you're talking about laid out the Roy Richards story, how he was trying to power his grandmother's house, and now almost 70 years later, that humble beginnings led to this large organization. That story, and then would seem to be a differentiation, and then also the you were talking earlier. I'm not sure if it's the beginning of the interview or in our warm up, but talking about how everyone has wants to know a sense of what their role is in the big picture,
right?
And the mission,
where they fit in, where they belong. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Mr. Richards. I think when he started Southwire, in reading the history, it was rooted in hard work, innovation, and community. And those are things that people are attracted to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
and he was 70 years ahead of his time.
70 years ahead of his time. When you really dig into his story, he was way ahead of his time. Yes.
And I always like to look back and say, well, what if? What if he had chose to go a different route?
Sure.
What would the market look like? I mean, somebody would have had to fill the gap. But I'm thankful that we have innovators and committed people in Georgia that decide to do it here.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
That's because the wealth that has been created for the whole community for generations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, all the,
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's incredible to see.
One man's vision.
Yeah, one man's vision. Yeah.
Well, also the industry, though. I mean, as we going back to the global community that we're in, in the global business era that will never leave. Infrastructure, right?
Yes.
And power is a big part of infrastructure. Right. So when I heard you say, what if, there's probably some communities globally that would not have access to some of the infrastructure if it wasn't for Mr. Richards'
technology. Our CSR technology.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of that equipment goes overseas. So there is a worldwide reach of that small need just in one person's home, how it's impacted throughout the world.
Yep.
Big absolutely incredible. Yeah.
So as we talk about evolution and the landscape we're in, Industry 4.0, I know is front of mind.
Yes, absolutely.
For many folks, including yourself. So tell us more. What are you seeing related to this huge paradigm shift?
Yeah. So IR4, Industry 4.0 is really about automation, using the big data and using the information that you get from that data. It's about working alongside robots, humans and robots working together.
Like cobots, right?
Yeah.
Cobots is a phrase, because I think there's what we talk about a lot on the show is automation, and then there's a lot of fear for automation. But the good news there, and it's really it's bona fide good news, is that for folks that are willing to step through that door, raise their hand.
Yes.
You can. This automation opens up all sorts of doors of opportunity, right?
Absolutely, it does. People are fearful. Yeah. When you look at the stats, we are slated to lose about 23% of our jobs due to automation. But what can we do now to prepare for that, to kind of minimize the impact of that? I think it's just going to take, we have to reskill employees. We have to introduce them to and really try to start to understand what the true impact of automation looks like. But skill sets will look different.
Yes.
I don't know if jobs will completely go away, but they'll look very, very different.
And that circles right back around to what you said a minute ago, is the company that you connect with, can you buy into the vision and do you see your part? And also is the company investing in you?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's a big piece that organizations, to be able to retain good talent, are going to have to really face and step up to invest in their people.
Yeah.
To make sure that they stay in track with the demands.
Because those skill sets won't be there. So if we don't build it, you're not going to find it anywhere else.
So certainly the organization's own part of the onus for this shift and preparing for the shift and protecting the pipeline. However, I would also argue that if you're an employee or team member, you own part of the onus too. You've got to be willing to learn new things, right?
Yes.
I think one of the most dangerous things about this exciting world we live in is if you're not learning and willing to apply what you're learning, the world will pass you by.
Yeah.
And that's a scary. I think that's probably one of the scariest things to many people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes me think of the question you asked me a little bit earlier about recruiting and how innovation within recruiting. We even within our group. we found ourselves having to disrupt what we have always done and what we thought would work to keep up with the industry, the market, because other companies are doing it. We talk about 4.0, that impact is being seen in recruiting. Like, we're using artificial intelligence to pre-screen our candidates because we have such a high volume of candidates. In order for us to even sustain and give them the best experience and get them through the process as quickly as possible, we have to have a tool to help supplement that experience. And that AI tool, that AI technology has helped. Has our team adjusted? They're on a journey, because at first, and you will see this, it's going to be the same. Right? Yeah, it's going to be the same. And my heart goes out to them, because we've thrown all these cool tech tools at them, and they're like, wait a second.
Yeah, time out.
Yeah, time out. Like, this is a bit much. I need to see how all this fits together and where I fit in. But I love it. They're embracing it. And they know at the end of the day, their job is still there. It just looks a little bit different.
Well, I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit on we talked about Industry 4.0 and using big data, and we understand that on the production floor, right?
Right.
We got that. And I love that you're kind of bringing that into the HR side of the house as we're doing talent acquisition. One of the things that's recently landed on my desk, we're doing a lot of investigation of retargeting, and trying to make sure that the spend that we have and the investment that we have going out in the marketplace, bringing on new members and bringing on sponsors and that sort of thing, and get people to plug into the events. You can broadcast to a huge market, but it's very, very expensive if you don't target that. So are you guys using kind of have you looked at retargeting and refining your search criteria based on people's engagement on the recruitment side? Because for me, that's just fascinating. I was
absolutely.
Like, wow.
So we do things very intentional based on our data. There are schools that we will say, okay, we may not attend their job fair, but we'll do a more intimate event, an information session, or maybe a WebEx that's teaching the students something, as opposed to going to investing in a career fair, because we don't get a lot of return on that.
Right.
So we track every single touch point. Anytime someone comes to our table, we track them. We follow up. We get them in our database. We follow up. We send target emails based on their career interests, based on the year that they're in school. Even
that's cool.
At a professional level, when you see people who've been in the market for a while, professionals, we target communications by where they worked, what they've done. It's very intentional. We don't waste time just sending mass emails just because. Everything we do is data driven. And I think that's made our team a little bit smarter, and the quality of hire, I think, is we've seen an impact in the quality of hire because of it.
Right. So that being said, on your team, are you doing the education to bring your team up to see kind of how these tools are implemented? I know I'm a avid learner, man. I love to read. I love to learn new things. There are people on the planet that are not wired for that. There are people on the planet that are, they want to do it the same way that they've been doing it forever. What I've seen, what I've experienced in manufacturing across the state, is manufacturers tend to fall into one of two buckets. Either they're the early adopters, they're on the bleeding edge of technology, they want all the latest and greatest, or they're the laggards. And we got lots of folks out there still running green screen DOS machines, right? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, there's just, and there's not a lot of that in the middle. One of the things that we're going to be trying to address at the summit is we're going to be talking about Industry 4.0. We're going to be talking about smart factories and people that are looking for ways that they can begin the journey. And so it's really neat to say, to hear that perspective of how you're implementing it, not just on the factory floor, but in your talent acquisition, because every component, is connected. Yeah,
absolutely. I think in hindsight, if I had to give advice to a company out there who is looking to revamp or refresh their talent experience, I would say take these tools and technologies at small pieces at a time, introduce them small bites at a time, and get your team baby steps and get your team accustomed and used to it. But you also have to encourage and develop those folks. So we've had training. Every single tool we've introduced, we've had training. But also at the end of the day, like Scott mentioned, there has to be some desire to want to learn and want to change. So, yeah.
I like what you said there earlier. As you roll these tools out, it's very intentional based on the data. I think that is so, it seems like some organizations see the latest and greatest technology and they want it and they implement it.
Sure.
And it's not based on the data. And that's such a misstep, but it seems like you are very deliberately, not only deliberately internally disrupting long-held beliefs and processes,
right,
but you're continually innovating, which seems to be core to the culture.
Yeah, it is. It is core to our culture. It is. It dates back to 70 years. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything different. But just being disruptive is tough.
Yes.
That's tough.
So tell me about your engagement with like professional organizations. Where do you go to find, as an HR professional, where do you go to find the latest technologies, the trends, the things that and organizations that there's a ton of them out there, but where do you go? What magazines do you read? What do you look for to keep you on the cutting edge?
Yeah, so there's a ton of recruiting resources out there. There's a company called eremedia.net, and they are very similar to they're not an association, but they're just a media company, and what they do is introduce all best practices, latest innovations. It is you talk shop, you talk talent acquisition shop, and they have conferences. But there's also SHRM, which is SHRM it's the Society of Human Resources Management. They've been around for years. Very stable organization. They also have some resources as it relates to talent acquisition. But at the end of the day, you go out there and find those companies who are doing it great, and you pick up the phone and you say, "Hey, how did you do that? Why did you do it? How does it work?" You have to connect with people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sharing best practices.
Benchmark. So let's shift gears here as we start to wrap up the conversation here today. So employment branding.
Yes.
Critical.
Critical.
Tell us more.
So there's nothing like having a good story and no one knows about it. So
no one knew anything about that.
Nothing. Yeah. So Southwire has an incredible story. Like, it is a very great story to tell, but you have to figure out the best way to tell the story. You have to turn your open sign on to say, "Hey, we're here. We want you here." It is so important to put your shop up from a talent acquisition perspective. Southwire in itself as an organization does a great job, but from a talent acquisition perspective, we have to figure out, how do we connect with people? What's the best way to do it? What channels do we use? So social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram has been fantastic for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've been avoiding Instagram.
Some of our younger recruiters use Snapchat. I don't know anything about Snapchat, but Instagram works good for me.
So big surprise. So Instagram is, I think maybe a lot of our listeners, just like Jason, it's amazing how many people and companies not only have a presence on Instagram, but are actively engaged. So that does not, especially what we've seen the last couple months here with our team, it doesn't surprise me at all to hear how successful Instagram has been in reaching some of the folks, right?
Yeah. So for us, it's really pulling out your value propositions.
Right.
What's valuable, what's great about Southwire, and defining that story, understanding how to tell that story, getting people within your organization to help tell that story, and defining your channels, defining your targets, who are we really trying to reach, and make sure that message speaks directly to them.
Love that.
Yeah.
And you guys have got an unbelievable media team. I mean,
we do.
The product that comes out of there.
I'm telling you,
it is.
It's a good thing they don't charge me.
Baby, stuff that comes out of there is
they're creative through and through. I love that team. Yeah, and they have really helped us. And it's been great because we were two separate teams at previous. Last year we combined, so communications and talent acquisition is one team now.
Okay.
So
that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
What a concept.
And it just elevated our ability to get the message out. We draw things on pieces of paper with stick figures, and they turn it into real life. So it's been a great part. They do their magic, and they do a fantastic job at it. So it's been great.
That's cool.
We touched on how important employment branding is, and a little bit bigger picture. What else have you seen in recent years? How recruiting, talent acquisition, talent management. What else has changed?
One of the biggest trends that I've seen is from a talent branding perspective. It's really speaking to the core brand. At one point, you used to see companies, they have their company brand message, but then you have a different message, a different story from the talent acquisition perspective. Websites look very different. Now, if you go to a lot of companies' websites, their company brand their talent brand is very complementary to their core brand.
Right.
That's something that we're seeing shift. It wasn't the case years ago. So I think that's a pretty smart move to do that. Yeah.
Very cool.
So we were just talking about how one of the things you advise is that as you see companies that do it really well, pick up the phone, engage, benchmark, talk, communicate. So we want to offer our audience something that not only is working really well at Southwire, but also illustrates the leadership within the industry that Southwire has and is pushing the envelope on. And that is the 12 for Life program.
Yes. Yeah.
So please share more about this program, why it matters, and what it looks like.
Absolutely. So 12 for Life really captures the essence of building your own, taking responsibility of building your talent. And it's an incredible program in partnership with Carroll County Schools. And what 12 for Life essentially is, we have a manufacturing facility that is set up to operate by the students. So we have an adult staff that manages the facility, but the people who are actually working are the students. And it's twofold. So there's a classroom setting on one end of the building, on the second floor of the building, and at the bottom is a manufacturing assembly plant. So they do some of our small assembly, small packaging, and it's totally run by these students. And it's an incredible thing to see. High school students, and these students, they are great kids. I've had opportunities to interact with them. They are students who just need a little bit of hope, a little bit of love, a little bit of motivation, and to see that it is possible. And the graduation rates in Carroll County have skyrocketed due to programs like this. We aren't the only program in that community, but probably by far the most successful. So students can work there.
So how do they pick the students? Where does that come from?
Students are chosen by the school system.
Okay.
So we don't necessarily have any control over that.
Sure.
They let us know which students. The students are vetted through Carroll County Schools. They are then put in contact with the staff at Southwire, and they are trained, put on the schedule, and they work. Hours are set around their schoolwork, and they can work also on weekends and throughout the summer as well. But they produce just like the adults, and do a fantastic job. And what I love about it is many of these students who in some cases, a lot of people have written off. They go on to college or they go into the military. It's just incredible.
So some of these students are like at-risk students.
Well, yeah. Okay. I guess if we had to bucket them, I don't necessarily. It's a tough word.
Right.
They just need a little bit of
opportunity.
All
they need, that's what I see with folks that succeed. If you just say, "Put me in, coach," all I want is a fair shot on a level playing field, baby.
Shot. Yeah. And these kids, it's
and
awesome.
when they come through, how many students have graduated through the program? Do you remember?
So I want to say 2,500.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So it's been,
and that's a lot of lives impacted. It's not just the student that comes through, and many of those students have transitioned to full-time positions with Southwire. Many of them, like you said, have gone on to college and different careers. But I think that the core We've toured it a couple of times, and when you walk through there to see the engagement in the students and the ownership of the students and their commitment, phenomenal opportunity, because it gives them the chance. It gives them the fair shot on the even playing field, and they shine. It is just so cool to see that every time that we've
a ton of success stories coming out of that program.
And not every business is equipped to be able to start a 12 for Life. But if you just start an apprenticeship program, just bring somebody into the table. If that's step one. It's a baby step, like you said.
So in addition to the 12 for Life program, some other development programs that we have the Southwire Engineering Academy, and that's high school students as well who are interested in engineering. And those students cycle in. They do projects for us as well. And then we also have a strong apprenticeship program that we're pushing out some fantastic senior millwrights and senior electronic technicians from that program in partnership with West Georgia Technical College. 12 for Life program is in Carrollton, but we also have another location in Alabama as well. So
love it.
But Southwire is doing some fantastic things around development.
Agreed. So beyond Southwire.com, in terms of if our listeners want to find out more information about the organization and the Southwire story that we've dove into, what else would you suggest?
So, Southwire.com for sure. Southwire Sustainability really does a fantastic job of telling our story from all dimensions. So, SouthwireSustainability.com.
Okay.
12 for Life does have their own with their own, not career site, but their own information page as well. So, it's 12forlife.com if you want to take a look at that. But I would challenge you to look on Southwire blog, where you get the latest and greatest information about Southwire and all the happenings within the company. It really does a fantastic job of defining who we are. And
if it's okay, I want to throw in a little extra plug. We talked about this early in the show, is the Kathleen Edge's keynote presentation. We have that archived on YouTube, and anybody that wants to see it, what I'll do, Scott, is I'll make sure we got a link that we can throw on the webpage, that if anybody wants to watch that, because I think that also helps tell the Southwire story in a very solid way.
And it was a foreshadowing of things that we're seeing today.
And the 12forlife.com address, that's the numerals 12forlife.com, just to our listeners, in case they get confused like I do with all these URLs flying around. But I love we could spend hours talking.
I certainly can.
Your passion and insights. I hate that we've kind of wound things down here, but we'll have you back. And hopefully see you at the summit.
Definitely see me at the summit.
Okay.
Yes, we will be there. I'll be there for sure.
October 9th. And on that, so we want to thank Keisha Jones, Director of Talent Acquisition at Southwire, for joining us here today. We'll make sure those URLs are plugged into the show notes of the page here. But want to shift gears here for a second as we wrap up today's episode. Jason, we want to put our finger on the pulse of what's going on with the Georgia Manufacturing Summit. Tell us more.
Well, the summit is coming along. I mean, we're really excited. We're a little ahead of where we were last year. Our goal is to have a little over 1,000 folks through the door, and last year we had about 800 or so. And with activity that we got going on, we see that's a possibility. But part of the reason we're here today and going live is we want to make sure that anybody that has not registered for the summit, that you go online today and register at GeorgiaManufacturingSummit.com. We've got a couple things, new programs that we released. The general admission tickets are $125 to attend, but we just opened up something that worked amazingly well, is a Bring a Friend program. So for maybe scroll down just a little bit on the registration page, you can see the Bring a Friend option. You get 2 tickets for $150, which is a unbelievable. We've never done that kind of deal before. But that's 2 general admission tickets. It covers breakfast and lunch and all the keynote speakers and educational sessions. This year we got Warner Washington as our keynote speaker in the morning from Procter & Gamble. He'll be sharing 35 years of experience of successful manufacturing career. And then Stuart Countess he's the Chief Operations Officer from Kia. He'll be talking about what's going on at Kia. And again, the theme of the summit this year is manufacturing success in Georgia. But to pair off some of the conversations that we've had is making sure that we get the right people attracted to manufacturing. We have found through the years, Scott and I are both Air Force veterans, and we have found that veterans do really really well in the manufacturing community.
Yes.
It is a band of brothers that we, in the military.
And sisters.
And sisters, yeah. Brothers-ish. But we look for that, and we look for places where we can be with people that we can align with well and partner with. So that's something that military folks strive for when they get out. That's a piece that they often miss. Manufacturing is a great place for that. Georgia Manufacturing Alliance is a great place for that, as a community for that. So Scott has challenged me, and I really appreciate the challenge for making this suggestion. But we're offering 50 free tickets for veterans. Now these tickets are designed primarily for veterans in transition that might be interested in a career in either manufacturing or supply chain. Absolutely free, no strings attached. All you have to do is go online and register. We do ask that you prove that you're a veteran of some way. But 50 free tickets. We still have a few of those left, so you can go online at GeorgiaManufacturingSummit.com, and down at the bottom there's a promotional code that you can enter, and it's USA Vet, and that allows people to
huge opportunity
take that. And then one other piece that we just rolled out, and I'm really excited about this piece. We've never really engaged the student community because there's just a lot of dynamics that didn't allow for that in the past, but now we've stepped it up. We're offering our first ever student tickets. Any student that's Georgia, anywhere in the Southeast, but any student with a valid student ID that's full-time, high school, technical college, or university that wants to attend the summit can attend the summit at $50, which is a great opportunity. Now, we do have a couple companies. As a matter of fact, Ray Marcel from E2E Resources stepped up and said, hey, this is cool. He said, I'm signing up. I'm buying an entire table for Gwinnett Tech. So he sponsored a table for 10 students to attend from Gwinnett Tech. Wow. And our buddy Melvin Everson and the team at Gwinnett Tech are gathering the students that qualify to come to the summit. Wow. And this will give students the opportunity to see, again, maybe not world-class manufacturing in action, but the leaders sharing best practices and get them the opportunity. Now, we are not promoting this as a job fair by any stretch. This is not what it's at, but it does allow students to get engaged with industry leaders to see what it is that we do and how working in a community and benefiting from industry associations, how that really impacts their their growth. So, but the student information is all online. Again, general admission, USA Vet is the promo code for any veterans that want. And again, first 50 that register are able to take advantage of that. And I think we got one other cool thing that we're going to be doing. We've got. I'm thrilled to announce that Supply Chain Now Radio is going to be broadcasting at the summit, and we're going to be doing some cool interviews. I have no idea how you got that coordinated, Scott, but we're really looking forward to interviewing some folks live on site at the summit this year.
So what's interesting about that is we're working on a couple of foreign trade ministers to talk trade and tariffs and some of these other really hot button issues. So hopefully we can release that in the next few days. Greg White, who's not here with us today, he's going to be leading those interviews on site as we tackle the panels, because you've got some great breakout sessions. We're leading one panel on trends of track across supply chain with folks from UPS, Point A, Center for Supply Chain Innovation, which is powered by Georgia Pacific, HMTX Industries, which is a global $700 million flooring manufacturer, and Mitsubishi, with our friends over there at the Mitsubishi Train facility based in Gwinnett County, where you've got this incredible progressive collaboration between these huge global brands being Mitsubishi Electric and Train. We're going to be talking about innovation, continuous improvement, transportation, technology, probably talent, Keisha. In fact, we should have made another panel edition, because talent's probably going to be the context that all this is spoke to. But Home Run Day, October 9th, GeorgiaManufacturingAlliance.com, GeorgiaManufacturingSummit.com. And again, to our fellow veterans, what an outstanding opportunity. Use the promo code USA Vet, particularly if you're in transition. That's really helping our fellow veterans really can make these connections with an industry, walk away with market intelligence.
And if you know a veteran, if they're not on the call or on the radio, if you know a veteran, make sure you share that. And one other thing I'd like to just add real quick is we're real excited about the awards program. So we're going to be showcasing the people of manufacturing. That's our awards program that we've got set up, and Southwire is the sponsor of it this year. We're really thrilled about that.
It's very exciting.
We appreciate y'all's partnership in that, and we are going to be having a workforce development educational panel during the summit where Southwire is engaged as well. So we're going to be hearing kind of some of the inside track on what's going on. Jamie Jackson is going to be our moderator for that session. But again, thanks for Southwire's participation and support of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, because we couldn't do what we do without great partners like Southwire.
Awesome.
Completely agree.
You're welcome.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Great friend of industry, friend of the community, certainly doing some big things around the world, based right there in Carrollton. Keisha Jones, pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Scott.
Stick around as a second. We're going to cover some of the other events that Supply Chain Now Radio is covering over the next few months. Jason, big event. It starts and stops October 9th. If you love the manufacturing industry, you've got to be at the summit with 1,000 of your best friends. GeorgiaManufacturingSummit.com, or if you can't find what you're looking for on any of the stuff that we're about to cover, shoot us a note to connect@supplychainnowradio.com.
And registration does end on Thursday, October the 10th. October the 3rd. Thursday, October the 3rd.
Go back to the future.
Yeah, we'll go back to the future. Yeah, you missed it. It's just like a bonus. We'll tell you what happened right now. Thursday, October the 3rd.
I'll take a page from your business model there and figure out how to do that.
That's a good plan.
It is. Well, we had a chance, the keynotes, top-notch keynotes, top-notch panel breakout sessions, top-notch companies that are going to be there, great networking, market intelligence gathering, best practice sharing. Come out and join us. Okay, so looking beyond that October 9th, we're pleased to be down in Charleston at the South Carolina Logistics Tech Talk, which is going to be a really neat half-day event focused on the logistics tech, supply chain tech, hot space, right? Freight tech space. It's headlined by DHL Supply Chain that will be serving as a main keynote. There's a lot of other speakers. You can learn more about that event at sccompetes.org as we partner with the South Carolina Council on Competitiveness to broadcast live from the event. Then we're going to be in Austin, talk about supply chain tech, freight, logistics tech, freight tech. We're going to be at the 2019 Logistics CIO Forum in Austin with our friends at EFT, November 7th through the 8th, 2019. And come out and join us there. And then you flip the calendar, Reverse Logistics Association Conference and Expo out in Vegas in February 2020. Keisha, if you like playing cards, come on with us.
Okay.
We're going to be talking reverse logistics, returns, and poker. But looking forward to that event. We had Tony Sciarrotta in the studio yesterday talking returns and how to minimize returns in this era we're in, right? Everybody likes to, I'm not going to name any names in my family, but someone likes to buy 3 pairs of shoes and see which one fits best. Maybe return 2 of them. No names. Good
job, Scott. Good job, Scott.
Oh, boy, I'm in trouble this weekend. But this is, as consumer behaviors, this is how we're being trained. It's some of the competitive advantage. So having groups like the Reverse Logistics Association that is disseminating best practices in this reverse logistics space is really important. Yep. And then finally, one that the GMA and Supply Chain Now Radio is both partnering and collaborating with, Modex 2020, one of the largest supply chain trade shows in North America, would be here March 2020. Yep. So it's a bit of a lead time there, but the MHI team behind Modex, that is an engine. They've got every detail. They really do. Some really neat keynotes we're going to be broadcasting throughout the 4 days, along with 35,000 of our nearest and dearest friends. Our 2020 Atlanta Supply Chain Awards will be hosted by Modex. We've appreciated the support of GMA and a variety of other partners there. We've just nailed down our keynote. Christian Fisher, President and CEO at Georgia Pacific, will be speaking at the Atlanta Supply Chain Awards on March 10th, 2020. So, okay, once again, home run conversation, home run guest, featured guest, just like I knew.
Oh, thank you.
After our warm up, I said, hey, we're going to have a series with Keisha Jones, right?
Yeah.
All about
people, all about talent.
A passion for people.
Yeah.
And a passion for talent.
Absolutely.
And the story and the why.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really love the conversation. Keisha Jones, Director of Talent Acquisition at Southwire. We'll make sure Southwire.com is one of the places to go, but there's a variety of other URLs.
Yeah, careers.southwire.com. Our brand new career site just launched yesterday. Check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you're looking at an opportunity with a mover and shaker in industry, a progressive culture company that's making a difference, check out careers.southwire.com. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Big thanks also to Jason Moss.
Yep.
What a great series. I want to say this is episode 8 or 9.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of home run conversations. I think based on the questions and interest we've got coming in, we've got no shortage of fodder for the months ahead.
Yep.
But we couldn't do it without your partnership, continued partnership. And, it's always fun to sit down and meet new people together.
Yep.
Right?
It is.
It's Jason Moss, CEO of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance. Again, be sure to check out, if you check out anything all year long that the GMA does, check out the summit on October 9th. It's a place to be. Okay, so to our audience, thanks for tuning in today. Be sure to check out other upcoming events, replays of our interviews, other resources at supplychainnowradio.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, all the leading sites where podcasts can be found. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. On behalf of the entire Supply Chain Now Radio team, this is Scott Luton wishing you a wonderful week ahead, and we will see you next time on Supply Chain Now Radio. Thanks, everybody.